All right, let's get right into it. We're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most confusing and, frankly, frustrating dynamics in the world of dating. You know the feeling, right? You've been there. You follow all the rules, you do everything you're supposed to do, you're the perfect gentleman, and you're met with complete silence. So what's going on? Well, the answer isn't what you think it is. I mean, you checked all the boxes. You were on time, you were a great conversationalist, you showed that you were a stable, responsible guy. You basically played a perfect hand, only to find out you were sitting at the wrong card table entirely. See, here's the thing. The problem isn't your behavior. The problem is that there's a mismatch of context. There's this powerful, ancient script that's running in the background of all of our interactions, and most of us don't even know it exists. But once you understand it, well, it changes absolutely everything. So what is this hidden script? What's really going on beneath the surface? Well, at its core, it's about two fundamentally different ways men are evaluated, and it's all based on some really deep evolutionary drivers. Now, there's a scientific term for this. It's called strategic pluralism. I know it sounds a little academic, but stick with me, because the idea is actually incredibly simple. All it really means is that a woman's brain is hardwired to use two completely different evaluation systems, two different filters for a potential partner. Here's probably the best way to wrap your head around it. Imagine you're playing a game, right? And you're racking up points left and right, thinking you're winning. But the person you're playing with, they're keeping score with a totally different set of rules. So you might think you're acing the test, but on their scorecard, you've got a big, fat 0. Okay, so let's break down what those two scorecards actually are, because this is where it all starts to click. On one side, you've got the good genes lens. This is all about the short term. It's focused on raw attraction, on chemistry, excitement, all the things that signal genetic fitness. Then on the other side, you have the good dad lens. This is the long game evaluation. It's looking for stability, for resources, for a willingness to invest and provide. And here's the crucial part. These are two very separate and often competing sets of qualities. So, if this is such a brilliant evolutionary system, how does it end up creating so much confusion on just a simple first date? Well, this is where we get to the absolute heart of the problem. This is the great mismatch. So let's rewind. Let's go right back to that scenario from the beginning. You doing everything right and her totally losing interest. Using our new framework, we can finally figure out what actually happened. We just have to ask the right question. Which lens was she actually looking through in that moment? Think about it. In the context of a first date, meeting a relative stranger for the first time, the primary subconscious filter is almost always going to be the good genes scorecard. The first hurdle is always chemistry. The brain is asking a very simple question. Is there a spark? Is this exciting? Is this person attractive? And while her brain was asking that question, what were you doing? Well, by paying for the whole date, talking about your stable job, signaling your long-term intentions, you were presenting an impeccable resume for the good dad position. You were showcasing stability and reliability. A brilliant move if she had been using that scorecard. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. It's a fundamental strategic mismatch. She was subconsciously asking, is he exciting? And you were confidently answering, I am a reliable provider. You answered a question perfectly. It just wasn't the one she was asking. This isn't a failure of character on your part. It's a failure of communication strategy. Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem. Now what? How do we actually fix it? Well, this isn't about becoming someone you're not. It's about developing strategic awareness. It's not learning to see the whole board. And let's be really, really clear on this point. The solution is not to get rid of your good dad qualities. Those qualities are incredibly valuable. The key is to understand the context and learn to communicate the right traits at the right time. It's about aligning what you're signaling with the evaluation system that's actually active in that moment. So here's the playbook. It's a really simple 3-step process. First, you have to identify the context. Is this a casual, first-time meeting or a more serious, long-term situation? That's step 1. Step 2, based on that context, recognize which lens is probably being used. Is it good genes or good dad? And finally, step 3, you align your actions. You communicate in a way that actually scores points on the scorecard that's in play. And what's the end result of all this? The payout is clarity. You stop guessing. You stop being confused when your best intentions seem to fall flat. This understanding lets you navigate these situations way more effectively and, believe it or not, more authentically, because you're no longer fighting against the underlying current of human nature. So I'm going to leave you with this question. Now that you can see both scorecards laid out so clearly, Take an honest look back at your own interactions. Which game have you been playing this whole time? And maybe more importantly, which game do you need to start playing to get the results that you actually want?